The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We're live and interactive. We'll be happy to hear from you. Tonight, we look at the falling Cedi against its major trade partner, the dollar, and ask four critical sectors, how is this affecting their business? We have a very exciting panel. Two of them are in studio with us. Two will join us via technology to talk about what the Cedi's challenges against the dollar mean for their business and by extension, you. Stay with us. Welcome back. So tonight we will be speaking to manufacturers. AGI President Dr. Humphrey Yim Daka is in the studio. Doc, welcome to the show. Good evening.
Thank you.
We're also talking to traders who are represented by the Traders Advocacy Group. Their treasurer is Irene Odu. Madam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. I'm also joined on a technology basis by the President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Doc, good evening. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, we're joined by Dr. Charles Nyaba, who's the president of the Peasant Farmers Association. Charles, thanks for joining us as well. Before I speak to my guests, I wanted to show you quickly how the dollar has been behaving in the past probably 12 years or more. So here is a quick chart our team put together between January 2008 and March 2022. So this is the interbank rate. We'll talk later on about the difference between the interbank rate and the rate that you get on the forex market and also the rate that you get in the black market. But look at it. After redenomination, the Cedi was actually stronger than the dollar. You needed 0.64 Cedis to get $1. January 2009, when Mills became president, you needed 0.9 Cedis to get $1. Then in 2010, it went up to 1.15, stabilized to 1.11 in January 2011. January 2012, 1.60. So this is a few months before President Mills' demise. January 2013, Mahama's presidency, 1.35. So it's even lower than 1.60. Then it starts this very draconian journey upwards. January 2012, 2.10. This is when Setekwe's challenges began. January 2015, they were talking about we shouldn't talk down the Cedi. There were all kinds of things going on in the economy. They wanted to manage some of the ways in which the banks were giving dollars out. So January 2015, it went further down, 2.90. Look at January 2016, the year in which the NDC lost the election. It had jumped to 3.82. And this is the height of the Dr. Bawumia lectures. So from 2.10, 2.90, 3.82. When President Akufo-Addo took over, he brought it down slightly. In 2017, 3.59. Then January 2018, 3.85. Still very close to the 3.82. Then January 2019, 4.07 Cedis to $1. We don't know what happened. January 2020, 4.07. This is pre-COVID. COVID comes in. January 2021, 4.86. October, 5.58. February 2022, 6.41. Now we are 6.88. If you go to the black market, it's over 7. What is going on with the Ghana Cedi? That's the question we have for tonight. What I would do is to give each panelist a few minutes to talk about their industry and how the currency affects them. I'll start with the Traders Advocacy Group because I heard you yesterday at your press conference. Can you summarize who the Traders Advocacy Group are and how this affects your business?
Thank you, Bernard. Traders Advocacy Group Ghana. It's a group that advocates for traders. We are about 10,000 members. We have a database that we've loaded every member on. We are there for traders from importers down to the vendors down there, the tabletops. We have retailers, we have wholesalers, we have street vendors and tabletop, yes.
Would you say most of your products are imported or you buy them from local manufacturers?
Most of our people are importers.
Most of people are importers?
Most of them are importers, yes.
So what the thing I just showed, what does it mean for your business?
Bernard, if you ask me this, I think on our press conference yesterday, we were asking the vice president who said the dollar was with the IGP and the lock. We are asking whether the dollar, we're asking where the dollar passed, that it's trending so high. For now, with the COVID, trade has become very difficult for us. Some importers who import from Asia, like China, it's difficult going to China now because the Chinese haven't given us the visa to go. So most of our importers, they have their partners over there. They, work with them, talk to them, and then make their orders, and then their goods are brought.
So where do most of your imports come from?
Most of our imports comes from Asia, China, I should say. Most of them are from China.
Asia, China.
Yes.
But China, they don't use dollars, do they?
They don't use dollars, but when you are transferring the money, you have to transfer in dollars.
That's the problem.
Yes. So whatever, when you get there, that is when they will also take their money into their RMB, and then they do the work for you. So most of us, we are traders dealing in dollar. And
is the dollar the most important factor affecting your business, or are there other issues?
Yes, it's the dollar, because a place like Dubai, when you take other currency like the euro, the pound, you don't make the match. The dollar, it's okay when you use the dollar in Dubai. So most of the time,
so if you're going to buy something from Dubai and you go with pounds, you lose out. If you go with euro, you lose out.
Yes.
But the dollar works better.
The dollar works better. That's why we all use dollar for trading.
But you're saying most of your people get their stuff from China.
Yes.
What kind of things do they sell?
Some are into clothing, some are into electricals, some are into footwear, and adults wear, children's wear, and a whole lot.
So now that the dollar is becoming more expensive, wouldn't it be better if you bought your things from Ghana? Or the things you are buying, they don't manufacture them here?
Ben, what do we do here? The manufacturing system here isn't that okay for us, I should say, because even when you want the products here, the manufacturers don't have enough raw materials to do your things that you want. I have a friend who is into cable and wanted to, instead of importing, he wants a company here, I wouldn't mention the name, to do the cables for him here. And they didn't have enough raw material. So he had to go to China to do the import.
So your importation is out of necessity, not out of preference?
No. Most of the time, the importation that we want to do, if even it is to be done here, we won't get, even with the tissue. Let me take this tissue that COVID came and we're doing. We had an order. We went to the factory. There are factories here producing these tissues, but they couldn't get it. At the time the company wanted it, they couldn't get the volume that we wanted. It took about 2 months, 3 months. And you know, over here, when you get the order, you have to, there's a time to deliver. And if you don't deliver by that time, it becomes something else. So
that's the problem. You guys are not producing anything. That's why the whole, if you were producing all the things, AGI, she wouldn't need to go to China, she wouldn't need to go to Dubai. The dollar can do what it does. We'll buy local substitutes and we'll be happy. So you are actually part of the problem. You are not producing anything. You are not producing anything, AGI.
Well, everybody knows that that's not the case. I mean, anytime I hear these comments, just as she expressed, what are they producing? But be honest with yourself. Are you saying there's nothing we're producing in Ghana?
Also, I didn't say so.
I mean, that was the expression you put across, and any average person by the TV will think as such. Anytime we do this reflection, in an era we had significant industrialization going on in Ghana. A particular era came in when the liberalization came in. We had what we call the deindustrialization, and we had the service industry dominating the economic space, and therefore it's mentioned as a servicification, what we call era. Out of that, our books and our GDP indicates the extent of service industry as against what we call the industrialized activity. So once you've deindustrialized over the period, the extent of product you might produce has reduced. Your capacity to do that extent and maybe the volumes you might need, we have been weakened over the period as a result of an economic model we practice in the era of, we know the era of the coup regimes, before the democratic regime, that we have stability. So that era had affected our economy significantly. And you will see any politicians or any governance that comes into being that advocates the intent to do what we call the structural transformation and give further credence to industrialization. And that's what has brought us here today, that we have the same mantra of industrialization going on. So yes, over the period, the industry capacity in producing variety of goods have weakened. However, it's the duty of government to put in policies to improve on that which has decayed over the period. And that's why China took advantage of the era of the Industrial Revolution and deepened its woes, closed its borders, and made sure they built capacity. Today, our friend, Nigeria is doing something similar, trying to build their capacity because of the population size they have to meet the demand.
I get that. So, couple of things. Correct. How is the chart I showed affecting manufacturers?
Reasonably, to most of our members, we significantly import one input or the other in our manufacturing space. One, if you're in the light industrial manufacturing space, which is more of the import substitution activities, you will need some extent of import. When you're in the agrarian industry, where you pick maybe your direct major input from the agriculture section, like your pineapple, like what Ekunfi is doing. Ekunfi will bring the machineries. However, the main feed that goes into the process comes directly from the farm. So we vary depending on the product you produce. So it's not a blanket issue.
So let me do it this way.
Yeah.
What are the most important things we manufacture in Ghana? If we look at the Ghanaian manufacturing sector, which products would you say we are doing well manufacturing? Maybe our top 5.
Okay, so the extent of manufacturing, when you define the manufacturing category, any product that you could add 30% value to is defined as a manufacturing product. So from water, you might see that though the plastic resins may come from elsewhere, the content is local. So
this is an AGI product.
Yeah, it's likely to be.
Even though the bottle may be from someplace
elsewhere, because the bottle may come as an input either through a preform or through a blowing
system. Even though the water may not be affected by the dollar, the bottle may be.
Yes, because of the packaging aspect of this product. So it's diverse. And that's why I gave you the general definition. Any product in your value chain that you add 30% of activities to, it qualifies as a manufacturing product. Beyond that, it's a different matter. It falls into pure trading. Then that's most likely a finished product, and therefore it goes outside the manufacturing.
So which are our most important products we manufacture here?
There are a number of them. If you go through the breweries, if you go through the Unilever's product, you could list a number of products coming through Unilever. If you go through the flour mills companies, you see a number of products because they bring in the wheat and process it. If you go in through the cable manufacturing companies, yes, they do some significant manufacturing because it falls within the definition I mentioned. Akunfi is one. You go to the textiles. Until recently that we had our textiles factory a bit down. We used to pick the cottons from the north and process it and convert it into yarns and then weave into what they call textile materials. We could go on and on.
So you're talking about breweries, which is drinks, Unilever, which is fast-moving consumer goods, flour mills.
Yes. The cement factories, some of them are totally integrated, some are not. So I can mention the diamond factory in Takrady thereabout. It's a totally integrated, is it Buipe? It's totally integrated line, meaning from the limestone, it crushes the limestone, it converts it into clinker, and it proceeds from there to form a part of the what they call a cement product. Some are semi. They bring the clinker and they bring the gypsum and they do crushing and mixing. So
even you, all these people, you still depend on inputs.
Oh yes, significantly we still do and that's why I decided to do the initial history, breaking that deindustrialization space. We are very much dominated with the service-related industry, and significant amount of our inputs are imported.
Okay, let me take opening comments from Agric, and I'll come to Guta. Dr. Charles Nyaba, thanks for joining us. I remember in my debate with people on the currency, they said if we can stop importing rice, sugar, and cooking oil, it will help reduce the pressure on our currency. So they call it the low-hanging fruits: rice, sugar, cooking oil. So coming to the agri sector, the chart I showed, how does it affect you farmers? Is it a good thing? Are you worried about that, or that's not your business?
Good evening, Bernard. Let me say good evening to Madam Irene and then Dr. Ayin. I think our position is not different from what they put out there. And I may even want to say that we are more affected than they have estimated. Now, if you take, I just want to use one sector to make some projection, which is practical for everybody to see. In 2019, we were buying NPK fertilizer for 80 Ghana cedis, the 50 kg. With the depreciation of the Cedi, in 2020, it jumped to 120 to 130. In 2021, we were buying it 160. Today, we are buying the same thing for 350 Ghana cedis. Hey. Depending on the company, it's as high as 500 Ghana cedis.
Hey.
Now, when you also come to agriculture machinery, where we depend on the importation of this machinery, ranging from tractor services, threshers, combine harvesters, the price for servicing of those machineries has also more than quadrupled. Now, all this is as a result of we importing all these inputs and machinery to do our work. You know, if you look at the factors of production in Ghana, apart from grain and land, the rest of the other factors of production, we depend on importation. So once the cedi depreciates, it means that you need more cedis to exchange dollars to be able to bring those in. And those also reflect on the cost that the peasant farmers will have to rent those services. Today, let me give another example. Apart from being a farmer myself, I am also on advisory board of some poultry farmers. Because of the shortage of maize due to the high cost of fertilizer and limited supply in 2021, we have to resort to buying maize from Cote d'Ivoire. Today, we are not able to buy because the cedi has depreciated so much that when you even go there to change the currency and then you bring it to Ghana, it doesn't make sense. Yet in Ghana, we are not getting the product back. I supply sorghum to Guinness Ghana. You know, we've been able to produce enough, and Guinness Ghana has stopped importation of barley, and they are now using sorghum to produce malt and then other beverages. Today, we are not able to buy because Ghana, the 2021 yields were very poor. So we've been buying from Togo and Burkina Faso. Every single day, the price will change because the CFA keep appreciating over the cedi. So when it happens like that, it means that it affects every sector of the economy. Now, even the common consumer who have to go to the market, now we have to compete with our neighbors who have to come in with the small that we produce because our products are now cheaper.
Sorry, you are saying that the cedi is not only falling against the dollar, it's now falling against the CFA too?
Yes, I'm telling you. Today, when you called me, I spoke to my colleagues in Wudana. Wudana is a community closer to the Togo border. They told me that last week, they were exchanging the TV. If you take 1,000 CFA, it was 11 Ghana cedis. Today, it's 12 Ghana cedis. And even now, some farmers are telling me that they have started to stop farming and go into fuel smuggling. That because of the depreciation of the cedi, it's cheaper to go to Togo and buy fuel and come to Ghana to sell than to produce goods and sell in Ghana. So Bernard, this is what we are going through as farmers. And I've spoken to a number of farmers, and they are actually wondering whether in 2022 they should continue to farm on the top farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that serious? Okay,
I'm telling you, Bernard, if you remember, last 2 years, when you go to a place between Ghana border to Aflao, and then you go to a place between Nagongo to Paga, you can count over 20 filling stations on a stretch of less than 10 kilometers. These filling stations were established because people thought that the fuel in Ghana was cheaper. They take it there and they smuggle it to the neighboring countries to go and sell. Today is the reverse. Because of depreciation of the cedi against the CFA, now you see people going to Burkina and Togo and try to smuggle in fuel. So that is the extent to which.
Okay. Thank you. I'll come back to you. Let me take the opening remarks of Dr. Obin. Thanks for joining us as well. Doc, thank you so much for your patience. So for me, for you, Guta, which currency is the most important one for you? The farmer is saying is dollar and CFA. For Guta, which currencies will be most important?
Yeah, I think we all recognize that the most accepted medium. Hello.
Yeah, you are on. Go ahead.
They are not behind. Hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
I hope we all recognize the fact that the dollar is the most accepted medium for transaction across the globe, and so for Ghanaian businesses, and especially when most of us ply our trade along the corridors of Asia and the like, we mostly prefer the dollar. And then those of us who do the cross-border trading are women who travel to Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, definitely also depend on the CFA. And for those who apply their trade in Europe, definitely also depend on the euro. But definitely the dollar forms about 90%. Well,
I see. But in terms of where our imports come from your members, which country is the most important?
Yeah, definitely China. China is the factory of the world, and they are very dominant when it comes to importation. I'm telling you, if somebody says he's going to Dubai, it's an extension of China. To some extent, if you go to Turkey, they produce most of their things, but you also see most of the factories selling the Chinese goods. So it's very dominant in China and India also these days. Yeah.
I remember asking you some time ago about this issue, and the discussion was about making Chinese currency available for people like you so that your dependence on the dollar will decrease. What happened to that discussion?
Yeah, I think even the central bank have even accepted that. I think they are talking around that. Some banks are having that initiative across. And so it is the sure way to go. trading in the yuan. To tell the truth, because most of us supply our trade in China, if we have a clearing system, like you see what we did with the PAP system, that continental free trade, where you can trade in your local currency but across Africa. We can also do similar clearing system with China, where we send our monies, our local currency, to the local banks, and they have a clearing system with the Chinese banks where they can clear themselves up with their local currency as well. I think this is the way forward, and I think central banks in Africa have started thinking in that manner. So I think they have to fast track those initiatives that will lessen on the dollar.
Thank you. We'll be back with more. This is the point of view. We're discussing the falling Cedi and its effect on manufacturing, on trade, on import, and on agric. We'll come back and ask more questions. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight, we're looking at the Cedi's performance against major trade partners and the effect on four critical sectors. My guest, Humphrey Eyim Dake, President of AGI, Irene Odum, is the Treasurer of the Traders Advocacy Group, Dr. Joseph Obeng, President of GUTA, and Dr. Charles Nyaba, President of the Peasant Farmers Association. I've already shown you the time series for the Cedi's performance against the dollar since January 2008. Indeed, when I ran that from even the 60s, it's just tilting up. It means you need more Cedis to get a dollar. Redenomination didn't change that. But there's something very concerning. When you go to the Bloomberg website and you also check January to end February, and you look at the best spot returns for currencies in Africa and the worst spot returns, again, the Cedi does very poorly. Let me show you something. This is very troubling. So you look at the date from 31st December 2021 to 25th February 22, the best performing currencies, so that those who do currency trading, the best spot returns, the Angolan Kwanza, 12.2%, green, positive. South African Rand, 5.1. The Guinea Franc, 3.7. Nigerian Naira, 2.1. Botswana Pula, 1.6. All positive return. Rwanda Kwacha, Kwacha, 0.9. Ugandan Shilling, 0.3. Now look at the worst spot returns. All right? The Ghanaian cedis at the bottom, minus 8.86. Slightly better than the in fact, slightly worse than the Zambian Kwacha. Then there's Liberian dollar, Mauritian rupee, Sierra Leone, Ethiopian birr, the New Sudanese pound, and the Gambian Selassie. This is serious.
Yeah.
So in the first 2 months of the year as well, our currency is performing atrociously. I mean, minus 8.86, that's the worst spot return on the continent. And what was confusing there is that, okay, so Ghana and Zambia are commodity intensive countries. But what's Mauritius doing at the west? So it looks like you need to study this a bit closer before you can develop a trend. Angola is oil dependent, as is Nigeria, you could say that. But Botswana depends on diamonds, as we do on gold. So we shouldn't be on different sides. So I'm saying it's not just a question of what you depend on. It could be many things. All right. But let me come back in studio. So the basic economic theory I learned tells me that if you want to reduce the pressure on your currency, reduce your imports. Number 2, strengthen your free zones authority. Number 3, control the black market. Number 4, stop importing second-hand goods. Number 5, add value to local goods. And then monitor businesses and how they send money out of the country. So for you and Dr. Joseph Obeng, you are part of the problem. Because you people, your business depends on import. And because you have supply chains from countries that supply, even if he produces the water or whatever, you still go to China for it. So do you admit that your business model and Dr. Obeng's business model contributes to our problems with the currency? Even though you are complaining about it, you are actually the cause. You are part of the problem.
Ben, we are not, because with the importation of the goods we bring, our prices are lower than the goods made in Ghana. That is the problem. And if the government will be able to bring the standardization of imports to a place that will meet the standard here in Ghana, we'll stop the import. You understand? Because when you bring the goods, it's far cheaper and it's affordable. Like my brother started with the clothing. We had the factories here, all right, but people were importing clothes. And the clothes were more cheaper and affordable. So everybody was going for those ones. And the factories had to come off. So with our imports, we bring in goods that Ghanaians can buy. When you are buying something here in the local sources, like I said earlier, it's expensive and sometimes you can't even meet what you want.
I see. So that's your defense.
Yes.
Well, it seems so simple. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
In Indonesia, where just like Ghana and Malaysia, they took away the palm nuts and created an industry out of it.
Yeah.
If you desire to bring the crude or the CPO that they use for edible oil from Indonesia, the cost of exporting that from Indonesia is higher than exporting finished edible oil from Indonesia. You know why? It is a deterrent from Indonesia or other Asian countries to export raw material. The intent is that you need to produce locally, create value chain locally, and create jobs for the people. However, then they put a rebate on import or on export of finished product that you go to buy and you claim it's cheap. It is an economic model that gives Indonesia and the Asian countries like China room to build their capacity, feed and strengthen their industries as against us. And then they make their finished product that you send out there. Some are shoddy, some are less quality. However, the economic model there is that let us allow them to take the finished product, we'll give discounts and let them import it to their country. Invariably, they've created a market out of us. And then they are benefiting by processing the raw materials and others. So you see, when you go into that said market and say, oh, because I'm bringing this from that China cheaper than what will be produced in Ghana, you are killing the factories here, you are creating less unemployment. That is why today the budget indicates, or the World Bank report indicates, between 13 to 19% are unemployed. You could tell me, if you want to be sincere, in your family, how many people do you find unemployed? So, but what is the aggregate impact? Even though you bring this cheap and sell and make some few money, the burden on you in terms of the number of people you need to feed who are unemployed because of that choice, it's an economic choice you've made.
But why are your things
so let's go back.
expensive?
No. So there are two things.
Why are your
Let
things
me
more
come
expensive
in.
than
May I finish this? May I finish this?
Okay.
So in that very context, you have allowed those markets to develop their various factors of production with efficiency.
I see.
So once there's efficiency and there's mass production, they have capacity to produce volumes and at a lower price. As against us, that we have not been able to develop our capacity because the price disparity and the model of economic model that they are pushing now goes against us. That is why in our discourse, one of the key elements in this benchmark discussion we've had, we tell you that it is not only price related, but it distorts the economic model of our country. And that is the argument of AGI, and if you read it throughout. So I'm glad she's mentioned it. But go into the books of such countries and you realize that when you go for something like Sinosure or you go for Exim guarantees and they encourage you to take their contractors to your country with concessionary loan, the essence is that they are importing and they are sending their product to your country. So you have become a market to them. All you do is retailing, you cannot produce.
All right.
Any country that cannot produce or grow its agrarian business, agriculture business, you are in difficulty. And
let me take a quick response from you before I bring Dr. Obin in, because I know he also has a response to this.
The problem we have is, Ben, most of these AGI people, most of their products that they use in the factory are imported. Their raw materials are also imported. Most of them don't have the goods, the raw materials here in Ghana to do it. Ask him if it's not true.
Some, you see, you can't say most. Some, because if it's agri, I gave you the example. If it's I gave the pineapple example. And if you go to rubber,
No, just
But you still, you also import.
finish the point.
Yes.
So what?
Yes.
So because they import.
Because
so
you import, the machines you use, some are obsolete, and it does at the end product, the market, the prices are high.
that's on the basis.
Why can't we?
So you're saying
come
because
down?
they import their raw materials,
Yes, it's
it
also
makes the cost of input high, the cost of the product high.
high.
Is that the reason why their costs are high? Is that the reason why your costs are
I
high?
disagree. Because today, by virtue of globalization and technology transfer everywhere, there are modern machines everywhere. If once you have a capacity, you have capital, you can buy the
But
best.
why are things more expensive than?
So-
So if somebody wants to print a book,
So-
they can
so-
go to China and it will be cheaper than printing
So
it
let
in
me
Ghana.
show you
Why?
why our
That's the
things.
thing.
So now, so by virtue of their deeds, bringing only finished product, if you look at the value chain of value addition, it's limited. They don't create enough jobs, and then they turn around of their funds. It's in the value chain is short. When you bring even raw materials, your value chain is longer. And then number two, when you go into that, the extent of money they bring, it affects the exchange rate in terms of the deficit of exchange rate that we need, the BOG needs to.
So they put pressure on the exchange
They
rate.
do
because they demand it for finished products.
Thank you.
But how many finished products are you able to do?
How many finished products?
Most of the things. That's
We
the
do a
question.
number of them.
So if we
GRA reports indicates that 70% of production activities that generates revenue, here you find it in the local markets.
let me talk to Dr. Obeng. Dr. Obeng, you've heard this before, so I know it's an argument you are ready for. The number one solution to reducing pressure on imports, reducing pressure on the dollar is to reduce imports
Of finished product only.
of finished products only.
Only.
So I don't
Okay.
know what your comment is to that.
Yeah, I've heard it so many times, and that's why we are failing. We are not putting it in a proper context. And so the elementary economics that we studied, that we should do more export and less import. So they do not even put in proper context. So they will always say that we do excessive importation. But even what my sister was saying, ADI itself depends on importation. It's a global issue you cannot do away with. You understand? Because the world is in interdependency on each other. Where others have the strength, others depend on. And so, if you are talking about more export, I agree to it. That's the sure way forward. We have to enhance on productivity. We have to enhance on the demand on the local products and all that. If you're able to do that, and if you have the self-sufficiency, that is the perfect way to go. But one thing that we also have to recognize that we do not have to overprice industrialization. If we overprice industrialization, we cannot export the overpriced produce of our industries. And so we have to put that. But having said all these things, that we need to go this way, expand export and all that, the 1B1F concept should be enhanced to bring in more export and all that. For the past couple of years, from 2019 to date, we have been recording surplus in our balance of trade. If that is the case, what is the push factor for depreciation? That's what we are not thinking about. You see, the main problem of this economy, the problem of the depreciation have become perennial. It has become perennial around this time, December end to January, beginning of January, where the masters of the economy are running up their accounts and repatriate their profits and all that. And when I talk about the masters of the economy, I mean the foreign dominance of our economy, who own the juiciest parts of the economy. And so, if you talk about the extractive industry, they are owning it, and the gold, oil, bauxite, and what have you, they own it, and they have full repatriation of same. When it comes to the new gold, new oil for countries, that's the communication. That brings more the juiciest of our economy is also dominated by the foreigners. You talk about the banks, even our limited few of the local banks have been off. But most of the banks are also owned by foreigners. And so around this time, they repatriate the Chinese mall that our people troop to buy goods. Let me tell you, that when you come to the retail sector, the trading sector, the locals import only 15% of the whole 100%. The locals owe only 15%. The rest is owned by the foreign expatriate. This China mall and all.
So I'm saying that even the retail sector is dominated by foreigners.
So why are you making a case for them?
We own 15%, and our investment
So why are you
laws
making a case for
are
them?
so clear. Our investment laws can be checked such.
But then, Doc, then that means that what the extractives do that you just spoke about, the retail sector is also doing it, because it means that these Chinese or whoever foreigner it is that is doing retail, they also repatriate the money they make.
Repatriate all of them.
So that means that you are also part. In fact, the problem is bigger on your side.
Yeah. But I'm being fair and I'm being objective. So let's think. And so if we have surplus of trade, then let's think about the demand, because then it has become demand and supply. And so the demand surge, what is the cost? And this the area. I'm telling you, the communication industry, the way they repatriate their money, there should be a system that will make them stagger their repatriation, maybe quarterly, so that it does not come and lump on the end of the year. We can do that. That this expatriate can do this.
All right.
Stagger them. Then also, we haven't talked of the areas like churches. The churches command huge sums of monies, and these monies do not turn into productivity. And so these monies also find their way being repatriated outside the shores of Ghana, and all put pressure on the dollar. The drift of corruption, when there's so much corruption, the drift of this money, it doesn't stay in the country.
All right.
They also find themselves out. Let's look at the
It's
demand.
not beyond his import business to discuss it.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll come back to you. I want to do a bit of a Greek. I'll come back to you. Your points are well noted. I just want to talk to yes, Mr. Charles, Dr. Charles Nyaba. Some people think that if we want to reverse this, we have to stop importing basic things like food. So rice, maize, and things. And even that, you people have not been able to produce enough. So for example, rice, we only produce 60% of what we need. The rest is imported. Why, after all the noise, you can't even produce enough rice for us to eat? And you are complaining about the dollar. Even food, we are importing food. It means you are not doing your work.
Bernard, so I do agree with you that we import about 55% of, if you take rice, for instance, that we consume. Our total rice consumption is 1,300,000 metric tons. Out of that, we import 730,000 metric tons. And then the local production and supply is 465,000 metric tons. Why do we have this gap? You know, in government's own policy in 2020, that we were to become self-sufficient in rice production by 2023. This has been reversed to a review to 2024. Now, if you want to become self-sufficient in rice production and consumption, what do? You need to put measures in place. But what we are seeing in Ghana is that government is rather giving undue advantage to Madam Odum and her group through the benchmark discount value.
Thank you.
By reducing the taxes that we would have gotten from the importation of the finished rice. Instead of rather imposing some taxes and using that to develop the local industry. Ghana, if you look at all the 16 regions in Ghana, there was a research that was conducted. All these regions has potential for rice production. But we are left as an orphan producer because the investment that is needed for us to be able to do that is not there. There are a lot of good rice processing companies like Avinas who have the capacity to actually process the rice to be like the imported rice in terms of the quality. But because of difficulties in terms of getting credit, in terms of even getting market for what is processed, they are not able to compete with what is coming in. So to me, for us to be able to get there and to ensure that the Cedi is stabilized, we need to actually increase investment, just like my colleague from AGI said. In the local industry, we need to do more investment. We can't just leave your industries to compete with advanced countries where those industries are properly subsidized. The finished products are sold in our country at dumping price. So once you do that, it's going to be very difficult for us to compete. Let's take the cotton industry. Cotton used to do well. But it got a time we cried, cotton farmers who cried for support to improve on the quality of the cotton that is produced, the processing. No support is coming. Today, most poultry industries are actually collapsed because cost of feed is so expensive, and we are not controlling the carcass, like the dead chicken that is sold in our market. So consumers found them to be very cheaper, irrespective of the quality. So they prefer to take that one than the local poultry. Now, ask yourself, how many jobs are Madam Odum and then my other colleagues are providing through their importation? You realize that there's no way you are going to compare the jobs that they are creating to the few industries that we have in the country. So to me, I think government just have to be committed, invest resources. You can't leave us to compete without putting in anything, and you say that our finished products are expensive.
Thank you. Thank you. When we come back, I'll ask each panelist to tell me one of the most important things that has to be done to reverse this trend. So everybody, closing recommendation. This is the point of view. It's a four-way conversation on the falling Cedi and how to mitigate its effects on four key sectors. Stay with us. Welcome back. So tonight on the point of view, we're looking at the falling Cedi and its effects on some critical sectors. My guests discussing this. I want to give them a couple of minutes each to just tell me, so what's the most important thing we need to do? I'll start with Dr. Eyim, AGI. There are many things. What's the most important thing in your view?
A few that I need to highlight is this. One is the interest rate differentials. That is one of the means by which a lot of these funds affects the exchange rate as a result of the activities and actions of traders. It goes with speculations. And in this particular era, one thing that we've not looked at carefully is the activities or the rating agencies' activities on Ghana regarding our debt sustainability. In that report from the rating agency, you realize that it went beyond the sovereign debt and also did a few reports on the banks. Some banks took a down hit on their portfolio. Once such things happen, such institutions or traders that play in these interest rate differentials panic. And when they panic, they start offloading their various instruments and bonds, and it has significant effect. And that is why you could see the trend in the case that you showed in that line. I didn't get an opportunity to comment on that. Besides that, we mentioned issue of capacity regarding the agribusiness. We keep saying there is a correlation between demand and supply and policy consistency. When you want us to build capacity to do whatever, you must make sure there's policy consistency to give assurance to the investor that if I put $100 million rice plant in Sandema, down the line, 2 years down the line, you will not change and bring in benchmark policy that will reverse all my gains.
Okay.
Bear in mind, this goes all the way to affect the Monetary Policy Committee's report, which affects the inflation target model that we run and cascade into policy rate, lending rate, the aggregate demand, and then the exchange rate factor. So this is how wide the cycle is, and we can only correct this when we do targeting within the monetary policy or the food basket you mentioned under the consumer price index. If we could target agric, construction, which has to do with everything construction, and fuel, if we could deliberately put in money through the various funds we have, that could bring about change, and we urge our politicians to take the bold decision.
Odum, quick recommendation.
Yeah, Ben, I think the government has to get a policy that will set up men and women in this country so that we do local sourcing. With that, the dollar can come down. Also, these expatriates that are trading in our markets, these malls and things that we are talking about, if there can be a policy for them to sell our locally made material products
in their shops.
Yeah, if they can make about 65% and 35% importation, because whatever they import, they change their monies and take it back for more goods to come.
So a policy for the multinational retailers.
Yes.
That's a very interesting.
No, the policy is tariffs. That's what you do through the WTO. That is where you make sure the finished products coming into your country, you don't revenge benchmark and give them a rebate.
But her recommendation is also that if they stock local goods, it means that when you produce something, it will be bought.
That is against the WTO rules. That is why you use tariffs and non-tariff measures, because we are governed by some agreements. So when you avert your mind to that, we just can't do that. So there are means. That is what we're saying to government. The benchmark policy is wrong.
Well, we can do a benchmark show next week. I think we want to do benchmark. Doc Obeng, I have just a minute and a half for you to make your final comment. As for benchmark, we can discuss it later, so please don't go there.
Where even the lady is talking on their behalf that the shelf life of these supermarkets should see about more than 50% of local produce, he doesn't seem to even to understand.
And I'm suggesting to you can only do that through a policy direction, like you reverse the benchmark policy. WTO rules will govern you.
He has the floor, let him finish.
But he should speak in context. He shouldn't be polluting the air every now and then. And he's fond of that. You're fond of that. Stop it. For a doctorate person, you should lift the argument about basic issues. Please.
No, I think you should allow him. Go on.
We have to revisit our investment laws and make sure that we do everything that will make us be able to retain some of these resources that is going out of the shores of Ghana. That we have to have retention policies, which will make us a deliberate effort for government to invest in these juiciest areas. And also there should be made a compulsion of the shelf life of these supermarkets who are buying the chalk, who are importing the chalk. We represent about 15%. They should also be made to patronize in Ghana, regardless of the WTO things that he's talking about.
You have been in business for how long?
All right,
let backward integration.
Let me end.
He's been in business for that long. If he's preaching this, he should be the first. How can he not go down a backward integration on operation?
Humphrey, you are interrupting.
Please, I'm not done. I should go off.
No, your time. Okay, you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Pontificating every now and then.
Excuse me, Bernard.
Go ahead.
For the forest, and that we should not zero on importation only. We have to look at the service industry. We have to look at the places where the money comes from.
I'll be right in the corner where you are.
The service industry, the communication sector, where they have this strong money and they depend on the surpluses that we are making.
He's the Pope in the house.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Charles, the show is over. So yeah, I'll call you on the radio tomorrow to continue.
My message is very simple. My message is very simple. In the immediate short run, benchmark value policy should be reversed.
Simple.
In the medium term, governments will increase investment in agro-based industries, support farmers with credit and input to produce, to feed those agro-based industries. But in the very short run, within this month, governments will reverse the benchmark value discount.
Thank you. That was Dr. Charles Nyaba, President of Farmers Association. We also had Dr. Joseph Obeng, President of GUTA in studio, Dr. Humphrey Eyim Dake, President, AGI, and Irene Odum, Traders Advocacy Group. Thanks for watching. My name is Bernard Avle. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.